Situated as they are, right smack on the Mason-Dixon line, folks here at Maryland International Raceway have plenty to argue about. At cocktail time, we'll drink Kentucky bourbon or Yankee vodka. With breakfast, do you like Southern grits or Northern scrapple? And when it comes to college athletics, is it the SEC or the Big East? Well, one thing they do agree on here at MIR is race cars. They better be quick, and they better have doors. This is the heart of door slammer country, cars which provide 8 major racing weekends here at MIR. Now, there is a dragster or two on the property, but what the people have come to see are the door slammers, the full-bodied machines of Pro Stock and Pro Modified, who will highlight today's action. Now, down in the paddock, ESPN drag racing analyst Ted Jones has more on the weekend. Ted?
Bob, I'm actually down here in the staging lanes with the alcohol funny cars. Now, we have a real war underway. You see, there's only one event remaining, the Snap-on Tools Fall Nationals in Bristol, after this President's Cup event. And who would have thought at this time in the season that this man, Ricky Bowie, would be leading the Pro Alcohol Funny Car points? He's had everybody on the run. When a good car comes up against him running in the 5s, Ricky manages to get him to red light. And yet, when he needs to run tough, Ricky can lay down the kind of number it takes to win an event. He's being challenged, of course, by defending world champion Todd Payton and 3-time NHRA Alcohol Funny Car champion Mark Thomas. Add into that mix Al Billis, the former standout from Pro Modified, and you've got what you need for a great finish to the Alcohol Funny Car World Championship battle. Let's take a look now at exactly how they've been performing. Here's Brett Kepner.
Well, gentlemen, as you well know, everybody was talking about returning to Maryland International Raceway for the last few weeks for one particular reason. Pro Stock Eliminator, the first ever 6-second 16-car field. And they came, and it happened. This racetrack is still, without a doubt, one of the absolute mine shafts on the IHRA Tour. You can go so fast here, you won't ever better the numbers through the rest of the season, and the entire Pro Stock contingent proved it by getting us a 6-second field before the final qualifying session of the 3M Scotchgard Night of Fire. In fact, Craig Hankinson, who has been one of the killers in Pro Stock at previous events this year, ran 6.97 seconds and didn't even qualify for this thing. He had to go quicker than 6.90 to get in the top half. Alcohol Funny Car was no different. You had to go quicker than 6.1 seconds to get in the 1 through 8 positions. And in Pro Modified, anything quicker than a 6.70 would only get you at the bottom of the top half of the program. Now, this racetrack is also notorious for the fact that the atmospheric quality very seldom changes on race day unless we have some huge storm front coming through or something, and that's not happening here. So it looks like race day conditions are going to be very, very similar to when the racers ran their best numbers in qualifying. Now, with the World Championship points races that we have, that means everybody's on an even play field. This is going to be an all-out drag race. You're going to have to drive the car, but the car is going to be able to do its job, too, because it can make more horsepower than anywhere else on the tour since the Winter Nationals. This is going to be a fast one. I mean, a real fast one. And let's face it, with the pressure on the drivers, it's only going to get that much more interesting. Back to you, gentlemen.
No question about it, Brett. With the speeds these guys are going to go, we're going to ring some necks in the grandstand. Right now, let's review the highlights of final round qualifying. The 3M Scotchgard Automotive Protectors Night of Fire. There is the surprise of Alcohol Funny Car. Tim Slagle from Fairfax, Virginia, a 598 with a 6. How about Pro Stock? In the near lane, former world champ Billy Huff couldn't get out of his own way a season ago, but he's coming on strong now, Ted.
Indeed he is. Huff, with the national event victory, now laid down the world record, 6.82, and that is in Pro Stock. Sounds like a Pro Mod time.
That near lane was doing all kinds of wonderful things all weekend long. In Pro Modified, Shannon Jenkins also a surprise.
6.59 for Shannon Jenkins at 207 miles per hour.
Now, Scotty Cannon hadn't locked up the World Championship basically by qualifying here. He might have had problems with Jenkins, but that remains to be seen. Now, some folks had problems. Watch the near lane as Bobby Bauckham has the worst nightmare a funny car driver could ever have.
They call it the Night of Fire. Look at the fire as Bauckham is on fire, and you saw the body fly completely off the car. So we have to have another look at it. Now, keep your eyes on that body. You'll see it fly into the air. Right there, the explosion. There goes the body 100 feet into the dark night sky as the chassis continues to flame going down the quarter mile. The front view now. You can see the car coming at you. There's the explosion, the body lifting off the car. The air begins to catch it, and it literally flies like a bird.
Now
That wasn't the only emergency of the weekend, but the BTS crew right on top of every eventuality at Night of Fire. How about a fire on a bike in the near lane? John Minono, already a winner this year in Pro Mod competition from Fort Worth, Texas. It went up in smoke. This is what a 1500cc engine looks like when it grenades right off the starting line. Look where he's sitting, Bob. Talk about a hot seat. Now, Pro Mod bikes are going to have their own special show here on ESPN later this year, summarizing their first season of IHRA IDVA competition. And now John Montecalvo from Santa Mauritius, New York, right on the starting line. Something let go underneath the bonnet. A severe carburetor fire. The BTS crew rushing around trying to put it out. He wanted to contribute to the Night of Fire also. Boy, that was about the hottest Night of Fire I can remember. Finally, sharing time on the racetrack with the Killer Red Tomato of new world champ Scotty Cannon. Watch Chris Hunt in the other lane. His fire takes place after the timing lights. Probably a nitrous explosion out underneath the engine. This ESPN Speed World presentation is brought to you by Quaker State, the intelligent oil for longer engine life. We'll take a quick time out, and when we return to the Snap-on Tools President's Cup Nitrous Nationals, Pro Stock will be up. Welcome back to Budds Creek, Maryland, and the Snap-on Tools President's Cup Nitrous Nationals. I'm Bob Barsha, along with Ted Jones. Before we get the action underway, here's the third member of our team, Brett Kepner.
Here at the President's Cup Nitrous Nationals, we're certainly glad to see one person in the pit area, and that's Terry Leggett, the veteran Ford pilot whose tremendous crash at the recent Grand American Nationals at Tulsa will go down as one of the worst we've ever seen. Terry, how do you feel?
Oh, feel real good for what we've been through.
Tell me what was going through your mind on the run. What do you remember the situation?
Well, it was a bad run. I knew the clutch was slipping, and for some reason, I didn't know why. We'd had trouble during the weekend, but what actually happened, the clutch fork came off. It must have on the start when it left the start line and got laid over in there, and it actually chewed one side of the fork off, and which was holding the clutch in, and, you know, it wouldn't, you know, the clutch weren't working as it should, making it slip. Then when I went through the trap, when I went to push the clutch in, the clutch wouldn't release, of course, because the fork was off. The parachute didn't come out immediately, and if it had, it would have sure helped, you know. I ain't saying it would have solved the problem, but
it's a common problem in pro stock, though. It's something you have to be ready for, and with that other problem, you got too much to handle.
That's it. It just looked like it was meant to happen, so, you know.
Was it one of those situations where you remember going through the barrel rolls, or?
No, I don't. I remember I was in trouble. The car was sideways, you know, getting around, and my wife was talking to me on the radio, telling me, you know, I lost and what we'd run, you know, and here I am. I said, man, she don't know the half of it.
That's good to see Terry Leggett up and around and laughing about it. Quarterfinal action in the quickest pro stock qualified field in history. There's a look at Roy Hill, who's going up against Floyd Cheek in an all-Ford matchup. But back in the first round, Roy Hill had to come up against Larry O'Brien, and you're on board with our Advanced Auto Parts in-car cam, riding with the professor down the quarter mile to a winning 697, 198 miles per hour. Now we'll move over into Carlton Phillips Pro Stock car with our Advanced Auto Parts in-car cam. You'll see Carlton using the new air shifter method hooked to the Linco transmission, the latest gear shifting apparatus out for the Pro Stocks. Incidentally, Carlton lost to the #1 qualifier, Billy Huff. Good to see push-button transmissions back in drag racing. Haven't seen one of those since the old Super Stock Plymouth. Like the old Torque Flight days. No question about it. After that first round of 16, the 8 fastest qualifiers all advanced. A pure first round, if you will. And now the Professor Roy Hill goes up against Floyd Cheek, each man with 2 wins this year. And Roy Hill punches on the red light right off the starting line. Automatic win for Floyd Cheek. Let's see what he does. A 699, 199 miles per hour. He's hot. We move on to our next pair. There is Mark Thomas without a victory, in fact, without a final round appearance this year. The Cincinnati, Ohio driver up against Charlie Garrett, winner of the season opening Winter Nationals, number 8 in points against number 6, with the numbers 2 and 7 qualifiers. But consider those qualifying times were 6:85 and 6:89. This is a close drag race. Oh, Charlie Garrett lays down on the starting line. A 5:15 light for Thomas. It's his wire-to-wire, 6:89.
Now there is Robert Patrick, #1 for the World Championship this year out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. Another all-Ford matchup. He's got Mike Bell from Asheboro, North Carolina. Listen to the qualifying times on number 3 and number 6. Number 3 qualified with a 6:87. Bell, a 6:88. 1/100th of a second between these two men. Now, as mentioned, these guys are survivors of the quickest 16-car qualified field of all time. When was the record set that they broke? 2 weeks ago at the Grand American Nationals in Tulsa, Oklahoma. When was the record broken there? 2 months ago at the Summer Nationals at Morocco, Indiana. That's how quickly performance is escalating in 1994. Mike Bell normally doesn't get to drive very much because Roy Hill keeps borrowing his car. Doesn't have a lot of experience, has not been in a final. On the other hand, Robert Patrick picked up victory at the Spring Nationals and the Summer Nationals. Patrick has to be the odds-on favorite to win right here, but it's a nose-to-nose race so far. It's going to be Mike Bell upsets Robert Patrick. Boy, that'll shake things up in points with a 6:90 winning a lap time. A huge upset as the points leader goes down. Now, there's Jim Revis from Stafford, Virginia. His Olds Cutlass up against the similar machine of the former world champ and #1 qualifier, Billy Huff. Revis was out first, but Huff was there sooner with a 6:92, 202 miles an hour. We'll be back for Pro Modified. Budge Creek, Maryland. Bob Martian, Ted Jones, and Greg Kettner with you. We're ready for Pro Modified quarterfinals. First up, Chuck Peterson from Dakota Dunes, South Dakota, going up against the newly crowned world champion. Scotty Cannon picks up an unprecedented 4th straight Pro Modified championship, basically by getting through the first round here at Budge Creek. But you can bet both of these guys want to pick up the victory here today, even though the World Championship is already decided. Number 4 and 5 qualifiers at 6:64 and 6:68. This could be a real drag race. Scotty's been off of the beat just a little bit lately. And just like the pro stocks that preceded them, the top 8 qualifiers in Pro Modified all survived the first round. So only the best will meet in the second round. And Bob, both of these are real fan thrillers, too. They're both nostalgia cars, a 40 Willys and a 69 Chevelle. And they're both supercharged, only 3 supercharged cars in the field. 2 of them meeting here, and it is Cannon. The Killer Red Tomato up to his old games, a 663 208.
This question.
Okay.
Has Scotty Cannon been sandbagging or not? No, I'm not sandbagging.
Well, I'll tell you what. You just said, has Scotty Cannon been sandbagging a 663? All you do is ruin your own arguments.
Oh, we can't. Well, I know you was going to ask that. I said, what'd he go? He said a 63. I said, I know what he's going to ask. I'm going to ask Britt the question this time.
Hey, forget about the numbers. This was the most important round of the season. You are the only 4-time world champion as far as consecutive world titles in the history of this class and in any other, for that matter, in the professional division in NHRA. You have just put more feathers in your hat than you ever had.
Hey, what can I say, man? We got a great team, on-site, good sponsors, a lot of luck. We keep them stirred up, you know, so I'll give them something to think about for the rest of the year. Was we sandbagging or was we not?
Well, it ought to be a real coming out party at the Fall Nationals in Bristol, Tennessee when the Cannonball shows up. We'll move on to our next pair now. Tommy Gray Jr. in the far lane out of Baltimore, Maryland, up against Carl Moyer, number 3 in the world last year, number 2 coming into this weekend. The big Chevy dealer is off the line and running. Gray had a whole shot. It's going to be tight. Both of them run a 672, and the winner, Tommy Gray Jr. with an upset victory. You bet it's an upset. Here's Shannon Jenkins out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, in his 93 Corvette CR1. His opponent, Mark Carter from Oak Harsh, Oklahoma. We see Carter purging the nitrous system right there. Both of these, the nitrous injected cars, the number 1 and 8 qualifiers on the line. Carter punches on the red light. Shannon Jenkins will have the victory and rolls on into the semifinals. Watch his time, 6:64. Check that out, Scotty Cannon. Now here comes Bill Kuhlmann, the first man over 200 miles an hour in a door slammer. Here's Ted Jones with a closer look at a legend. We'll have to go back to 1987. That's when it all started with this car, the top sportsman car that went 200 miles per hour in Darlington, South Carolina.
I had always known about nitrous. I had a little dragster in the past that I experimented with nitrous oxide on. And I'm always, I try and emulate, if anybody the thinkers, the tinkers, oh, I don't know. It's like if somebody asked me, what do I want to be known for? The guy that went 200? No, I want to be known for the guy that probably invented more things in drag racing than anybody else. So I'm always trying things.
Bill Kuhlmann came out of the sportsman ranks, where innovation and invention is the name of the game. In sportsman drag racing, Kuhlmann found everything from rear-engine dragsters to nostalgia cars to fuel-injected cars to the use of nitrous oxide and, yes, even blowers with superchargers. Now, it was only natural that Bill Kuhlmann would use all these different inventions when entering the top sportsman competition, which later, of course, evolved into today's exciting pro-modified class. And with all the fame, Bill Kuhlmann still maintains a real perspective on life.
You know, one of the things most racers that I know always say, they give anything to be able to know what they know now and start out back at that age when they were young. I guess it's that way in anything, though. But man, I'd give anything to have the knowledge I've got now in the body of a 19-year-old, because some of those young guys get to be a handful.
Well, I think that's true of any profession or anything you do in life. You wish you turn back the clock after you've matured to the point where all the things in life suddenly make sense when you're older, and at first, because you're pressing and pressing and pressing to make a living and raise a family, you really don't see the whole picture.
I know you sure got smarter as you got older.
I think most dads do.
Quiet moments for Bill Kuhlmann to spend with his father for friendly father and son chat are few and far between for this drag racing star, because the NHRA circuit demands so much of his time and the research and development necessary to stay on top of the pro-modified wars. Bill Kuhlmann does find time, however, to pass on some of his wisdom and knowledge to a young aspiring drag racing rookie who would want to enter the sport.
What we're going to do first is I'm going to have you just pull forward about 20 feet. I'm going to be in front of you. Then you put it in reverse, we're going to back up, and you just watch me, and I'm going to guide you. When I say stop, you stop. Then you're going to put it in forward, and pull two handles back, set your brake, finger on a button, get the RPM up to about 55, let out a clutch, and then take the RPM up a little higher. It's not that you got to take it higher, it's just when you let out on the clutch, the RPM's going to die away. You're going to have to give it gas to compensate.
But at the same time, I'm pulling high gear.
Yeah, you just pull high gear. As soon as the wheel starts spinning, pull high gear.
Now, when do you want me to let off the line lock?
When you feel it sitting there, you'll feel it.
I'll be in high gear doing it.
You'll be in high gear. You'll feel it sitting there. Let off the line lock. Keep your RPM high.
Don't go ahead and try it.
Oh, you don't have to try. Don't take her all the way up. No, but go about 3/4 down.
We'll try.
All right, you'll be fine. There's so many people that when a person follows their dreams, people are jealous that you're able to do that. So they won't support you. They just plain won't support you. They'll say negative things, and it really comes from a little bit of jealousy. So I'd say to the young guy that wants to do this about 3 things. 1, go look at the sport in general. Don't spend any money of your own, and make sure it's what you want to do. Talk to a bunch of pro teams. And then when you find pro teams that make the most sense to you, see if it's possible and maybe go to work for them. Get all your information from one source. If you can get your information from one source and you think you've got a handle on things, go out there and try and do it on your own. Don't forget that there's no tricks, there's no magic parts, even though they are expensive. Common sense is what it takes to make a winner. Common sense and hard work and tremendous devotion. It's no different than an Olympic boxer or a professional baseball player. The best ones dedicate everything they do to that sport.
That is Bill Kuhlmann, drag racing champion, winner of the Winter Nationals at Darlington, South Carolina to kick off the 1994 IHRA season. Now he goes up against Pat Moore from Kinsman, Ohio. Pat Moore, the winner of the World Nationals in Norwalk recently, and what a war they're into now. It looks like it'll be Bill Kuhlmann picking up the victory with a 673. Let's look at it one more time with our advanced photo finish. Kuhlmann by about half a car.
I'm curious, did you hear the explosion alongside you at the finish line?
I heard it, but I didn't know whether it was he or me, you know.
It was him. Big fireball down there at the finish line.
You know, we had to change motors for this round because we hurt the other one. And I got down here, and I got a button. A lot of guys use a lean out. I use a fatten up. Since I didn't see him, I richened it up just to play safe, and I heard that noise right when I did it, and I thought, oh, my God, that might be us.
Well, I want to tell you, you're the kind of guy that usually appreciates a little morale booster. Only your driving won that one, 673 to a losing 671.
Well, I'll tell you what.
See, I knew that would brighten up your day.
I'm feeling younger by the minute.
I'll tell you, this is a while now since you've been in the semis.
Well, Summit's selling cereal now, and I eat it every morning, and it makes me feel great.
Ever the salesman, Bill Kuhlmann will take on the upset-minded Tommy Gray Jr. in one half of our semifinals in Pro Modified, and Shannon Jenkins will meet the new champion, Scotty Cannon. We'll be back for Alcohol Funny Cars from Maryland International Raceway. Welcome back to the International Hot Rod Association Snap-on Tools President's Cup Nitrous Nationals from Budds Creek, Maryland. Quarterfinal action in Alcohol Funny Cars. There is the two-time former world champion Alcohol Funny Car, Mark Thomas, out of Louisville, Ohio. At home in Ohio, Mark Thomas is not a drag racer. He's a farmer. Man running substantial operations, both in wheat and corn farming and in dairy cattle. Every morning, you know where you'll find Mark.
Well, you want to see here is what we have as we consider our maternity ward. There's, I'd say, roughly 30 cows in here to have calves. We've already had 4 calves this morning. You can see one new one right here off to my left. It's about 2, maybe 3 hours old. He's slowly but surely trying to get his feet. And we have, there's always something happening. We usually average in the neighborhood of 1 to 4 calves a day. We've had 2 sets of twins over the last 2 weeks. And if we're not pulling pistons, we're pulling calves.
Mark would surely agree with Bill Kuhlmann, who pointed out that you're a lucky man if you can find something to do that both allows you to make a living and is something you're proud of.
We can actually produce everything we need to run a car and help the American farmer at the same time. And a lot of people don't realize how hard farmers work, and it's a rough life to make a real good living at. And I feel good that we're making things that are not only safe for the environment. When you look at things that are environmentally friendly in oil and in fuel, we're also doing things that help the farmer to make more money, be more profitable, have a better life, and it helps all the pollution aspects in the country. So I feel real good about it. This oil that we're doing now is kind of really made this thing full circle, because not only did the ethanol fuel work, now that we have a lubricant, it's really neat. If you come around a race car, it smells like you're cooking French fries sometimes. And if you wonder why, it's because of the oil we run. It's totally different. It has more lubricity, and we found that it's actually better than petroleum oil. And I swear I don't lie, this stuff is fantastic. So I'm tickled pink with all the things that we've been doing.
And tired. Being a farmer, a dairyman, and a drag racer means Thomas doesn't get to the garage until his work in the fields is done.
Well, I guess a normal Monday after the races, okay, normal thing we do is, first thing that I do is I leak the motor down all the cylinders to make sure that everything's okay, as far as that not an excess amount of air can get past the ring, the piston ring. So the first thing we do that I do is that, and usually while I do that, Chris, Jerry, pull the Lenco out, pull the transmission and the clutch out. We service the clutch every week. We service the transmission every week. So what I do usually takes a little bit of time to leak the cylinders down, and it's pretty much just a one-man job. And at the same time, those guys can knock out the transmission and the clutch, and then by then we're ready to go ahead and dissect the rest of the motor. A normal Monday is, by the time we get done, there's just a bare block and a crank in the car. It's just, we all rely on each other. I mean, that's kind of our strength, and last year we were off just a little bit, but our strength, I feel, is that when we leave here, there's not a race car out there that's any better prepared than this one is. It's absolutely perfect when it leaves the garage. And I really believe that that's where you get your strength, is in your performance. We don't hurt parts, and we make sure it's perfect when we pull in.
Perfection would seem to be the key in Mark Thomas's life, because with his multiple careers as a farmer, a dairyman, a drag racer, and a family man, he needs to be perfect in order to give himself time to do everything that he wants to do in life.
You scoot up here, okay? You scoot on up. Whenever you're ready, you go. Good splash. Good job, good job, good job, good job, yeah.
With all that's going on in his life, Mark Thomas surely can't spend as much time around the racetrack as he would like, but he makes maximum use of that time, winning races as often as possible, and with it, thus far, 2 Alcohol Funny Car World Championships. But he is a man whose feet are rooted firmly in the soil of his farm. And right now, Mark Thomas has his hands full against Canadian Doug Hersom from Lisle, Ontario. Hersom qualified with a 6-flat, Thomas a 6.06, but Thomas is out on him on a row. Mark Thomas takes the win, 6.02.
You know, one thing's for sure, you're down to your last engine, and you yourself are even starting to get worried about it, which is amazing me that you're leaning on it this hard. A 6.02 at 2:30.
Good deal. You know, it was kind of a weird deal because when I rolled in to pre-stage the car, and you'll see this, that I lit both lights instantly, and I was going to back up.
Maybe with the spoiler?
Well, I was kind of worried about backing up because Doug wasn't in yet, and then when he rolled in, both of them come on, neither one of us had the RPMs up. So it was just one of those things, and so I don't know what we caught for lights, or what Doug ran, but I'm happy.
It was an 02 to an 09, so he was, you know, a little bit back in performance, but he could have gotten you.
Yeah, oh yeah, I tell you, and you know, like he said to me last night, he said, I can play a spoiler here, I'm for hire.
Yeah.
I said, no, you got me second round, we don't want to hear that. So, no, I tell you, it's come down to this, and the ethanol people are good, and my crew's been good, and we've been trying lots of things this year. And, coming down to this race, I mean, it's put up or shut up time, and we don't want to shut up.
With Bowie out, it's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, it is. So we'll see what Todd and Al and everybody else, Scott Weiss, has to say here this next round and go from there. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey! Well, maybe harvest time in some parts of the country, but Mark Thomas, the farmer, doesn't want to go home yet. Now here's Jerry Dornicker from Hudson, Ohio, going up against Tim Slagle from Fairfax, Virginia, the surprise #1 qualifier.
Talk about a spoiler. This guy has to be the spoiler. He ran a 5.98 to qualify. Could bump anybody off at any time. Looks like he's got Dornicker. Yeah, nails him down. 6:13, the elapsed time, 228 miles per hour.
Now here's Larry Dobbs from Welland, Ontario, Canada, going up against Scott Weiss from Hanover, Virginia, #5 in points.
Weiss qualified with a 6.01 and then ran a 5.99 in the first round and can't crank it this time. He slows to a 6.93.
Looks like he had him at half track, but he lost the blower belt, and that cost Weiss the victory.
Man, what a turnaround this is. And I got to tell you, you were not the favorite in that drag race.
All right, it's about time we get some luck here, eh?
The thing's back on a teen base, and it's been a while since we've seen that.
Yeah, it's starting to run real good this year. We went a bunch of O's, went O's out west there, and we've been breaking a lot of parts, so we just keep it together.
6:15 here, that'll do it.
Yeah, all right, all right.
Now here comes an interesting matchup. Right there is Al Billis from Barrie, Ontario, Canada, #4 in points with a pair of victories this year. In the other lane, the defending world champion Todd Payton from Paris, Ontario, also with a couple of wins.
But Payton has a world championship and more experience. Qualified 6-flat. Looks like he's out on top. Yes, he does it. 6.08.
How much is this back down from the 6-flat in qualifying, though?
It's backed way down. We slowed the blower down. Driver was told to leave real low, which I hope he did. Computer will tell me. And, I mean, the 6 flat wasn't real hard. We just took advantage of good conditions and good track. We got the sun out there, and it's affecting these cars. This thing shook again, but not as bad as the first round. Hopefully it'll do even less next round.
So it's getting real interesting here.
I'm having a lot of fun.
Even at age 23, about as analytical as you'd expect a commercially rated airline pilot to be. Todd Payton will take on Mark Thomas in a battle of world champions. Tim Slagle up against Larry Dobbs in a battle of upset-minded Cinderella stories. We'll be back. Welcome back to Budds Creek, Maryland, and the IHRA Snap-on Tools President's Cup Nitrous Nationals. We'll get back to the action on track in a moment, but first here's Big Daddy Don Garland with this week's Inside Scoop, brought to you by Rislone Engine Oil Treatment.
Most racers would prefer fuel injection over carburation because of the control. A carburetor, when you richen or lean it, it does the whole engine. It does not pick a particular cylinder. But in fuel injection, especially port injection, you have control of individual cylinders. By just changing a nozzle on that cylinder, you can either make it rich or leaner. This gives a much finer range of tuning over just tuning by richening or leaning the entire engine. Also, you have a little ram effect with your port tubes, and a lot of injectors have different lengths of these tubes. So all in all, I think that the true racer would prefer the injection over carburation. However, carburetors do have a plenum chamber underneath them, which some claim that is an advantage. Who knows? A lot of races have been won with both systems.
All right, thanks, Big. We move on now to semifinal action in Pro Stock. There is Floyd Cheek out of Chattanooga, Tennessee in his 92 probe, 814 cubic inches of Ford power. Here being backed into the lane, the former world champ Billy Huff, #1 qualifier out of Brooks, Kentucky, his 94 Olds with 802 cubic inches. Billy Huff's on a roll here for sure. He set that world record at 682. He's been running 680 slow to a 690 in the most previous round. But Floyd Cheek has been on a rip himself with that big cubic inch Ford. The advantage off the start line goes to the younger man, Billy Huff. He's got him at half track and leads him to the finish. Back in the 680s with a 686, 202 miles per hour. Now you ride along with Mike Bell and our Advance Auto Parts onboard camera. Bell's opponent, Mark Thomas. No, not the Mark Thomas, the alcohol funny car driver, but from Cincinnati, Ohio, in his 802 cubic inch Olds-powered machine. You're inside the car with Mike Bell. This is exactly what he sees when he looks sideways now forward with our Advance Auto Parts in-car cameras. Mike looks sideways again as he sees Thomas staging. Now he's staged. Now he sees Thomas again, and off he goes. Thomas right beside him. Now you can see Bell pulling slightly ahead of Thomas as they hit the 8th mile down into the lights. It'll be Mike Bell, 695, to pick up the upset victory. Boy, the cars look like they're leaving the line together, but from that onboard camera, you can see what it's like when your car rolls first.
Something you may not even be aware of because we've had so many races in a row here. Since you've gotten back in the driver's seat, you've moved up to #2 in the reaction time averages in IHRA drag racing, and you're proving it every round here.
Well, if you'll remember, I work at the Roy Hill Drag Race School, and I should be able to cut reaction times. It's real tough. It's been a long time since I raced. These past few races, it's been almost 20 years, so it's coming back. I think I still got a little left.
In case you're not aware, Billy Huff, 686 in the other half.
Well, we're going to have to tune it up a little bit in the finals and see what happens.
That's right, that's 686 by Billy Huff. The quicker ET gives him lane choice when he meets Mike Bell in the finals. See if Mike has enough left for young Billy. We'll be back with Pro Modified semis in a moment. Scotchgard Automotive Protectors IHRA National Drag Racing Series penultimate round for 1994. We just had a look at Bill Kuhlmann from Wentzville, Missouri, going up against Tommy Gray Jr. from Baltimore, Maryland. Boy, where did Tommy Gray come from? I don't know, and I think Bill Kuhlmann's wondering the same thing. He qualified #6, though, with a 668, ran that same time in the semifinal round. So you have to pay attention to this guy, and you can bet that an old pro like Bill Kuhlmann knows that. Both men in 94 Corvette ZR1s. One engine, nitrous assisted and normally aspirated. But in the foreground, a big blower protruding from the top of the mill. 526 cubic inches of Oldsmobile power for Bill Kuhlmann. Gray with 706 inches because of the nitrous injection, and Gray is out first. He's got Kuhlmann on the rope, has him at the 8th mile, pulls on top end, upsets Bill Kuhlmann, and the crew is elated.
I'm going to ask a serious question here, and I doubt seriously if Tommy Gray can even answer it honestly. Is this literally a dream come true, or what?
Sure is, Brett. Me and my dad been at this racing for a long time, just been Lou Buckeyes, and I got to thank God, first of all, and NHRA and all my guys that helped me, Jim, the whole works.
But the hometown track, and to beat the people you're beating.
Well,
Carl Boyer, Bill Kuhlmann in a row.
We felt from the beginning Bob Engel's former pro stock motor builder could give us the horsepower. As you've seen this year, we just couldn't get everything, the combination to work. All my friends, Shannon Jenkins, my crew, Jim Dunford, the whole works, Roy Hill, everybody's helped me. You know, I appreciate it.
I tell you what, Tommy Gray Jr. can pass for Phil Simms in just about anybody's book, I think. Now here's a matchup, Shannon Jenkins and Scotty Cannon. 93 Corvette ZR1, 40 Willys, normally aspirated on nitrous against supercharged. Let's see what happens to the newly crowned and 4-time pro-modified world champion from Lyman, South Carolina.
Well, this could be another upset in the making. Shannon Jenkins, Bob, is hot. Qualified #1, set that new record. He is on a roll indeed.
I guess the only problem with being the big guy, as Scotty Cannon, without doubt, is in this category, is that anytime you get knocked off, it's an upset. And everybody wants to beat the #1 guy. You're looking at him in the killer red tomato.
Both staging very carefully. Shannon Jenkins is out first. He's pulled a hole shot on Scotty Cannon. Let's see if he can hold him off. Gonna be close. It's Shannon Jenkins. 666 to Cannon's quicker. 663. Look at that. Shannon Jenkins literally sideways coming off the end of the pad. Now he straightens it out. Gets the horsepower to the ground. Comes down to the finish line. Got him.
You left on him. It was only 17 thousandths, I think, at the finish line.
And we was all over the racetrack.
Yep, that means this thing still had plenty more in it.
Yeah, we took a little guess at it at the end, and of course it paid off. We won the round, but boy, that was a tough one. We knew it would be.
Did you see him? I mean, was that a heart pounder there?
Well, yeah, I seen him right at. I didn't really look over there. We got about 1,000-foot mark, and there he was. Oh Lord.
Yeah, the crew is a little
I can't ask you for any more help?
No, not today.
No more help today. Tommy Gray Jr. and Shannon Jenkins will meet in the finals of Pro Modified. That ought to be a good one. Now it's time for a track fact. Looking at the technology of drag racing, here's Brett.
You might often wonder how we end up drag race at over 200 miles per hour, especially a close one. Many of the drivers get out of their car at the top end, jumping for joy, knowing full well that they just won the drag race. Well, believe it or not, it's a relatively recent innovation, but it's been one that every single driver has enjoyed. It's the driver's win light. Now, about 400 feet past the finish line, it's one light sitting on top of the retaining wall that is connected to the main timing system. That allows the driver, presuming he's under control, as soon as he gets across the finish line, to look on this wall, waiting for that sign.
Get out of the way, Brett. Somebody else is heading your way, it sounds like. We'll be back for semifinal action and alcohol funny car from Bud's Creek. Back at Bud's Creek, Maryland, it's time for semifinal action and alcohol funny car. Here comes Tim Slagle, the Cinderella story in this class thus far this year, the #1 qualifier from Fairfax, Virginia.
And when Slagle qualified #1, he did it in the 5s. Now, there's only been one other driver going the 5s this weekend, and he is out of competition. That, of course, Scott Wise.
Slagle about to go up against Larry Dobbs here in the semi. Slagle, an interesting story. This is not the first time we've seen him this year, Ted.
No, but it's only the second time, Bob. He premiered this car at the Winter Nationals back at the start of the season in Darlington, South Carolina, won the first round, lost in the second round of competition, broke a lot of pieces, and was thoroughly disgusted. He declared he was going back home, order new parts, and would not bring the car out in IHRA competition until it was competitive. Well, I'd say, Bob, it's competitive.
No question about that. The numbers he's been putting up this weekend are impressive. He also does a great driving job, a 481 reaction time. He's got Dobbs on the road. Yeah, picks up an easy win, 6:11 to a losing 6:18.
Well, you can't fault Larry Dobbs. He gave you a shot at a 6:18, but a 6:11, and you murdered him on the starting line, too.
Good. That's something I've had to work on. I'm not real good on the starting line.
Looks like it worked out, because especially you've got to be wondering about who's going to win this next one, because you're, like I said, kind of the spoiler here, and either one of these guys are brutal.
They're both tough. It doesn't really matter. I've just got to be lucky and get it down the track in order to have a chance, I think.
No question about it. Start it quickly, point it straight, and hope you have the horsepower. Here comes Todd Payton, the defending world champion. And he has got to win here if he's going to have any hope of defending. Here's a man who wants to end his reign, Mark Thomas, who knows what it's like to be champion. Well, this is probably the most important race for points of the entire weekend. Both of these guys have got to win if they're going to stay in top points competition. Distinctive ratcheting sound of alcohol-burning engines. Remember, alcohol cars have no problem with heat. As a matter of fact, heat often adds horsepower to these cars. Thomas, a slight advantage off the line, although it was merely a heads-up start. Mark Thomas, 6:06, 230 miles per hour. He puts the pressure on for the points.
I don't think the numbers meant anything. The win light was everything on that drag race. 6:06, that's what, 4 consecutive runs in the O's now. Yeah. 6:12 for Todd, and both of you were moving around a bit.
Yeah, we were. You know, I know that both of us, because of the importance of that run, I mean, it was very important, and it meant a lot to us, and we're back here biting our lip. Don't put a fresh blow on. Don't get crazy. Let's just get down the racetrack.
You learned a little bit from Big Daddy at Norwalk this year when he backed it down in a situation where he could have stepped on himself.
Well, you saw us in Norwalk in the final. We blew the tires off extremely. And that was important, right? And so I'm being calm this weekend. It's working a lot better. But I am a happy guy. One more. A
little bit of a mind tune-up might make the difference here.
Oh, it makes a major one, so.
How much damage can you do with a win here, points-wise?
The way I look at it, we should right now be awful close to the top of the heap. Yeah, it should put us like a 300 or 400 point cushion going into Bristol. And
how big of an advantage is the lead going into Bristol? Would you rather be chasing? You know, Todd Payton said he liked it from the back.
Yeah, that's what we said coming here. I'd like to be 100 or 200 points out of first place going to Bristol, so the pressure's on us. But if we're 100 or 200 points in front, it won't break my heart at all.
Careful what you wish for, Mark. The last 3 leaders in Alcohol Funny Car have lost in the first round of the next race. Now it's time for the driver's school with the Professor Roy Hill.
So, Dave, we're going to teach you how to stop a car. We've showed you how to get down the quarter mile. Something that's very important is stop it. As you go into the finish line, you pull the parachute. As the parachute comes out, a pilot chute is connected to the parachute. It's mounted on the car, it's spring-loaded. It pops out and brings the chute out. 2 things that pro stocks are very, very concerned about is weight and smoothness of getting stopped. There's been some violent crashes because of parachute. The chute mount is mounted in the center of the chassis. The spring-loaded pilot chute comes out, catches the air over the spoiler and brings the chute out, and very smoothly from the center of the chassis, the car slows down. Then you touch your brakes at approximately 120 miles an hour. You don't touch your brakes and lock the brakes in the finish line.
No question about that. The last thing you want at 190 miles an hour is locked brakes. We'll be back for the finals. Welcome back to the IHRA Scotchgard Automotive Protectors 3M National Drag Racing Series. The Snap-on Tools President's Cup Nitrous Nationals. We've reached happy hour. Finals time. First up will be Alcohol Funny Car. Tim Slagle against Mark Thomas. Slagle looking for the upset. What a race this is going to be, Bob. Tim Slagle is off the line first. 433 reaction. He's pulling on Thomas. Blows him away by a car link. 6:06 to 6:07. We move on to the Pro Stock final now with Billy Huff going up against Mike Bell.
That's a very upset-minded bike, Bell. This is the first time he's ever been in the final, and you're going to ride on board with him with our Advanced Auto Parts in-car cam. You don't see Huff yet, but look outside. Billy Huff is starting to pull around him, bumps him off with a 689.
What a race. I mean, 689 to 690. The car was there. You were there. You left on him by 200s. You go into Bristol. 2 qualifying positions out of the lead.
You know, I've been in a couple of finals before, but that one right there was more nerve-wracking, and it meant more to me than any one I had before. I was so nervous. When I pulled in there in pre-stage, I went down on the motor before I even staged. But I was ready to go when I pulled in. I was pumped up.
Same thing Mark Thomas was talking about in the previous round, letting the revs get too low. Now we go to our Pro Mod final. Tommy Gray Jr., Shannon Jenkins, and another possible... Whoa! Foul for Shannon Jenkins. He blows it away with a red light.
An unbelievable dream has come true for Tommy Gray out of Baltimore, Maryland, as he picks up the win with a 668.
And he did it in his hometown. A spectacular day here at Fudge Creek, and we'll be back to set the stage for Bristol in just a moment. Back at Fudge Creek, Maryland, a set of upsets led by home stater Tommy Gray Jr. has really shaken up the points as we head for Bristol for the final race of the year. Let's look at the points, beginning with a class we didn't see, Ted, Top Fuel. Well, in Top Fuel Eliminator, it was 4 cars last year. This year, it's going to be 3 men. Make that 2 men and 1 woman in the Top Fuel Showdown. But in Pro Stock, has it ever been closer? I can't remember when. 20 points between first and second. Hill and Chief each have a shot also. And in Pro Modify, well, that was already decided with Scotty Cannon. And Carl Moyer has a solid hold on second place. In Alcohol Funny Car, though, talk about close. Mark Thomas with a 60-point lead, and then Todd Payton is right behind Ricky Bowie by only 20 points, 80 points between first and third place. Alcohol Funny Car can be a history center. You're going to want to be with us in Bristol, Tennessee for the Fall Nationals. To wrap things up, I'm Bob Barsha for Ted Jones and Brett Kepner. So long, everyone.